Hi everyone, welcome back to Call to Mothering. Today I am talking about how to deal with being a mom when you are an introvert. This 24/7 parenting gig presents some added challenges to those of us who are on the more introverted end of the personality spectrum. We tend to get easily overwhelmed and easily overstimulated by things like noise and mess, which are two things that come with the territory of raising young kids. And eventually we may even get to the point of burning out. But if you have certain systems in place for both you and your kids, you can actually thrive instead of just survive. So today I want to share with you 7 tips to help you thrive as an introverted mom. But before we get into those, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notifications bell so that you know anytime I upload a new video. So now, number 1 is identify what drains you. Since we introverts prefer quiet, and young kids aren't known for being subdued and self-sufficient, there can be some obstacles. So it's important to identify what your overstimulation triggers are. A big one for me is noise. I get easily overwhelmed when there's a lot of noise around me, a lot of activity going on. Sometimes the voices of TV characters or the noises of even toys can just make me feel very angry and irritable. So I have identified those things, and I know that I need to step away when I hear those noises and just retreat for a little while. And it helps me just refocus and just calm myself down. And then I'm able to, step back into the chaos that is motherhood. Dealing with decibel levels is not the only pain point for introverts. Sometimes it can be over multitasking, over scheduling, an abundance of physical touch, or just trying to navigate those play dates and other activities that you're scheduling for your children. Knowing your social and sensory limits can help you anticipate demanding periods and help you plan healthy ways to cope with them. Number 2 is develop daily rhythms and routines. Having certain rhythms and routines that you do on a regular basis can help you keep on top of things just by doing a little bit often instead of doing a lot all at once. Not having to spend hours catching up leaves a little bit of room for extra free time for yourself. And you won't be feeling guilty or selfish either for taking that time when you perhaps you feel like you should be spending time with your kids or your husband or taking care of the house. You will have already done these things as part of your normal routine, so the extra time that you created is purely yours. Here are some examples. Try to do laundry once a day to avoid a massive pileup, which you have to spend hours sorting. Put a load in each morning and make sure it's folded and put away by the end of the day. And it's no big deal. Wash your dishes after every meal or put them in the dishwasher. Wipe down the table and the floors and clean up the counter and try to tidy up those kitchen counters at the end of each meal preparation. That takes about 5 minutes or so rather than a massive cleanup operation at the end of the day. Also, try to have a consistent bedtime for your kids. Start around the same time and go in the same order. For example, a toddler's bedtime routine may start at 6:30 p.m. and include putting on pajamas, reading a few stories, getting in bed, and a final good night. Keep it simple and fairly short. A good bedtime routine often lasts from 10 to 15 minutes, even maybe longer if there is a bath that's involved. Now, your child can't decide what time they want to go to bed or how long the routine is, but you can give them some control over the routine, such as choosing between 2 sets of pajamas or picking out or choosing between 1 or 2 books that you have laid out for them. And finally, get up earlier. Make it a habit to set your alarm a little bit early so you can get up before the rest of your family. And then you can spend that time doing what you want before the rush of the morning begins. Number 3 is wake up before your kids. This is absolutely crucial for introverted mothers. I remember how I used to go crazy on the days when I'd wake up at the same time as my kids. I would feel angry and frustrated, and that was really no way to start my day. I knew something had to change, so I began getting up earlier, and even getting up half an hour earlier than my children was a huge game changer. I started creating a morning routine for myself, which included prayer, Bible reading, and some journaling. So introverts usually prefer solitude and look forward to it every day. So when you can get that time in the morning to yourself, you fill your cup, and then you have a positive outlook for the rest of the day. Number 4 is institute a special quiet time. If you can't get that time to yourself in the morning because either your children have unpredictable wake-up times, or maybe you are up during the night with a teething baby or something, then you can create some time during the day when your older children have what I like to call quiet time. You can have them read a book or play quietly in their rooms, or do some other low-key quiet activity while your younger children have nap time. I used to tell my children politely that I needed some quiet time to get some things done. If they resisted, I would just tell them that I'd get back to them within, I would give them a time limit. I would set a timer, and I would say, well, I'll get back to you when the timer goes off. And asking them politely taught them it taught them to respect others' boundaries, and it also taught them the right way to express what they needed, to express their own requests. Of course, you want to make sure that your kids are safe while you retreat to your recharge zone. Number 5 is encourage independent play. Although you should spend time with your kids to connect with them, the benefits of independent play are huge. They are great for kids so that they learn some independence, and they learn how to be creative, and they also learn what they can do if they're feeling bored. Just remember that while it's important to connect with your kids, it isn't your duty to entertain them all the time. So encourage independent play in your children from a very early age. When my children were young, I would scatter some toys and building blocks on the floor. And I would do this once they were fed and were also rested, and once I had filled their love tanks. If they were needy, they would be much more likely to be clingy, to cling to me. And so I would fill up, I would make sure that they had what they needed beforehand. And it doesn't take long to fill up children's love tanks, just a silly game or maybe reading a book to them. And then they are happy to go off and play by themselves. They are also comfortable because I was nearby, usually in the same room. Once your kids are older, you won't need to ask them to play by themselves because they'll be used to it. And they'll just do it on their own without much direction from you. Number 6 is get help from others. It's hard for an introvert to ask for help. Ask me how I know. It might be because we draw energy from being alone, and we're often self-sufficient. How many times have you declined an offer of help because you thought you should be able to do it on your own, or you thought it was a sign of weakness, or maybe that you weren't a good parent? But if you run yourself ragged and you don't give yourself any space or time, the time that you desperately need, and you end up being irritable and angry with your children, and maybe even shout at them, And that isn't a good thing either. Remember that you are only human and you aren't meant to do everything. It's better to take up an offer of maybe just 10 minutes from someone you trust. And those 10 minutes might be all you need to recharge. Savor the silence and finally drink a cup of coffee that you won't have to reheat 5 times. You can also trade off with another mom once in a while, where she watches your kids for an afternoon and then you watch hers. When my kids were little and I was part of a mom's group, we would schedule time twice a month we would create a rotation where we would have moms watching several members' kids at a host home, and that would be for either a morning or an afternoon. And then those moms would switch off and watch other members' kids. It was a great system, and we all ended up getting the time that we needed, just some time to recharge, do some chores that had been neglected for a while, or go shopping, or just sit in the quiet. Number 7 is embrace your introversion. Before I understood that I was actually an introvert, I didn't understand myself very well. When I was a kid, I always felt like I was different because of my quiet, introspective nature. And it took me a while to realize why I felt so drained after being in social situations and when I spent lots of time around other people. It wasn't because I didn't love my friends or my family, but I just preferred to do it in a different way, with one person or a small group at a time. I used to think that I was weird, but when I came to know about my unique personality and why I behave and think the way that I do, it was a total game changer. I stopped comparing myself to others. So I understood that the way I am able to understand people is because of my introversion. Being an introvert, we are usually deep thinkers. We are usually deep feelers as well. We tend to be more deliberate also. And we have a healthy dose of skepticism. Also, since we love solitude, we usually pursue creativity more as well. Introversion actually benefits parenting too. I am empathetic by nature, and that helps me understand the pain of my children. It helps me understand their feelings and their longings and desires. Introverts are usually good listeners also. And what do children want? They want people to listen to them. They want to be seen and heard. And so as introverts, that comes naturally to us. Also, introverts usually prefer deep relationships. So being an introverted mom helps us build those deep, lasting relationships with our kids as well. So being an introvert mom is not all bad, and you can cope with it if you just give yourself some space for introversion during the day. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and remember, you are not just a mom.